don't think anybody in the history of cheerleading has gotten the routine right in 10 hours. Like that, you're not winning Summit, you're not winning Worlds in 10 hours. You have to have people that care enough to be a part of that process. And that's what we look for.
Welcome back to After the Routine. I'm your host, Rochelle Provo, and if you haven't done so yet, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss an episode. Today, we're here to talk about something that a lot of people think about and see, but don't necessarily know how to get into, which is choreography and business support. So today I have Sam and Rolton Edwards. They are entrepreneurs, educators, and the husband and wife duo behind the Sharp Performance and Spirit FX Canada. With years of experience working alongside cheer programs across the world, they built their businesses around one goal, which is good people do great things, which probably heard me talk about it before. I absolutely love that so much. Their business combines business strategy, coach education, choreography, and athlete development to create lasting success both on and off the competition floor. They're passionate about sharing practical, actionable advice that gym owners and coaches can immediately apply to their programs. When they're not traveling, consulting, or creating routines, they're focused on raising their family and continuing to grow the sport they love. So thank you so much for being a part of this, Sam and Rolton.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm so excited.
So happy.
With all the things that you guys do, how did you actually get started in the sport, in cheerleading, dance, gymnastics, tumbling, all of that?
I've started in dance since I was 6 years old. So like music, dance, movement has always been a part of my life. I actually didn't get into cheerleading until I was in high school. I had actually changed schools and some of the people found out I used to be a dancer. They're like, oh my gosh, you need to come and try out for the cheerleading team. And at first I was like, absolutely not. I don't know what that means. I don't want to be a cheerleader. But they dragged me along, literally came, picked me up, brought me to practice. And I like instantly fell in love. I was like, this is such a great sport. Like the possibilities are endless. And then from high school, I ended up going to the University of Western Ontario, which I didn't know had the best cheerleading program in the entire country.
Wild.
I know. I lucked into being a cheerleader. So at Western, obviously I cheered on the college team there. And I was also part of PCA, which used to run skills camps all across Canada. So I was on staff for PCA for a few years. That's kind of how I got into doing skills camps and choreography. And then, yeah, I basically haven't stopped since.
My story is very similar. So same thing, started in dance, the tiny ballet, tap, jazz classes that you can do all the way through. I think I started cheerleading when I was 9, and I was lucky enough to train out of London as well. So the program that I was training at is the same place that Western trained. So it was at PCG Vipers. And I was there for 10 years, I think, until I went to university. But same thing, when you're in that environment and you're, watching Western get to go across, well, not everybody, but watching the PCA staff get to go coast to coast. We were really lucky that we got to see what it was like from a really early age, and we didn't really know any different. So we kind of had a little bit of the audacity just from seeing that it was possible and kind of seeing a structure laid out for us. We're still super close with Trace and grateful for the foundation that he set up for us.
Which is amazing. As someone who went to Brescia and then also went to Western, like purple and proud is like 100%. One of the reasons that this podcast is purple, my favorite color. Yeah, Western and London just hold so many special memories for me. And I remember that my first year, and it's like orientation, and the Western cheerleaders come up, and as someone who was in cheerleading was like, okay, this is amazing. Like they're incredible. No one else was excited as me. I was in the front row, like, oh my gosh, like, did you see that? Yeah, right? They're like, I have no idea what's happening. They're flipping. I was like, you don't even know what's happening. It's fine. Like, it's like, they're incredible. And like that program continues to be incredible and set a standard and really is a launching ground for so many as well that are able to go on to cheer with Team Canada and create incredible, careers in cheerleading. So that's awesome. And I'm so passionate about cheerleading all the time.
Our running joke is I didn't go to Western because I was born and raised in London. I went to York, and it's the running joke of like, for somebody who is so invested in London cheerleading, that fact that I didn't go to Western feels almost anecdotal. But we still bleed purple in this house. Like it's how we roll. So I totally get it.
And PCG Vipers are an incredible gym. Like what an amazing foundation to have to then be able to go and do this incredible career in all the things that you guys have gotten to do.
Yeah, it still feels surreal. Like when you list out all of the things that we actually do, I was like, we're busy. Like that is a lot of things.
Yeah, we do a lot. I think it really comes back to being at Western and seeing all of the things that we can do, really the impact that we can have on the community as a whole, because we weren't just competing in competitions. We were there, we were supporting the football team, we were there doing community events, we were doing things around London. We would get hired out to do special events. So it really gave a different dynamic to what's actually possible for cheerleading, not only as its own sport, but as like a business and as well.
Yeah. So then you talk about the business side of it. So then at what point were you like, we're athletes, we're going and doing like PCA and doing these instructions? And how did that move into where you were able to go and make this your career?
Yeah, so I think it was 2014. Rolton and I started dating. Our relationship started kind of like coming together. And we noticed that it was just based on the ages that we were, it was a lot of our friends were the ones that were starting gyms. So we had people that we loved that either had family support or had put their life savings into opening a gym, outfitting it, making it, that safe space that we all know and love. And then about that 3-year mark was happening. And at that 3 years, it's like the hardest point for any gym where the bills are creeping up and the registration isn't as booming and all of these things were happening. And we were seeing people that we love lose gyms and have to close overnight, but also seeing all of those athletes now displaced. So it's awful on the friendship side. It's awful on the athlete side. And if we didn't have that safe space growing up, like I don't even want to know where we would have ended up. So we kind of were like, we're decent on the business side. We both have, educations in our own field. I'm sure we could help people stay open. So that was the entire motivation, is how do we help people we love keep their businesses open longer so that they can keep helping their communities.
Yeah. So my background, I actually went to school for electrical engineering and was working as an engineer for like large multinational companies, and just noticing that the cheerleading industry was missing a little bit of that rigor. I really wanted to see how I could take my industry knowledge and my experience running very large projects and kind of apply that to the cheerleading world as well, so that the gyms and the programs that were thriving at the time would be as stable as the companies that are in traditional markets, right?
Which I think is something that is in the past, we've talked about this before on the podcast, but cheerleading has not been viewed as a professional industry. And so being able to change that narrative and be like, no, we can make cheer gyms and cheer careers as successful as anything else.
Yeah. And that's the whole motive is, it used to be like friendships and, helping out as much as you can. And it's now to the point where there is so much industry built around cheerleading. The cost of everything is so much more than it was when we started, that if you can't turn a profit at your gym, you can't help the athlete that needs the extra accommodations. You can't have the athlete support fund if you can't pay for the rent to be in your space. So all of that kind of like circles in together and how we help set up better systems and better practices to help the gyms make a little bit more money.
Yeah. And I love that, because that also comes down to gym owners being paid and actually being paid for their time and experience, right? And being able to be like, no, I own a gym and like I make a successful living, and then being able to hire on incredible staff and be able to pay them as well.
Yeah, one of the things that had me super motivated just in my own like health and life journey is how many gym owners and directors we were finding with autoimmune conditions. And basically they had given every bit of finance, time, energy that like their own bodies started deteriorating, and you can't fill from an empty cup. So again, extra motivators, extra fuel in the fire is like, it's not one person, it's not a one-off story, it's all of our stories. So how do we build back a little bit of the being able to be strong enough ourselves to then help others?
Yeah. And so we talked that there's kind of two aspects. So can you talk about how you have Spirit FX Canada, but you also have the Sharp Performance. And for those who don't know, what's the difference between the two businesses?
Yeah, so obviously Spirit Effects Canada Choreography is our choreography business. We are partnered with Spirit Effects in the USA as well. And the Sharp Performance is more of our business consulting side, where we focus on consulting, business support, education for cheer gyms. So actually, Sharp is actually what came first, which is
Yeah, I
kind of
love
a
that.
little bit of a surprise to people. Sharp was established so that we could, do the business support stuff, help our friends, create the education that's needed that was missing in the industry. But we were also doing choreography at the time, and it just got to the point where we realized we couldn't help everybody alone. So we decided, hey, let's create Spirit FX Canada. We can get our friends from Spirit FX to come and help do some of the choreography across Canada as we grow. And that's been going on for a number of years now. We've grown our Canadian staff significantly. Yeah. It's become its own beast, but
Yeah.
the Sharp Performance has always been there to support the gym owners and the businesses on the back end side.
I love that so much. And then when it comes to Spirit FX Canada, you guys also had an incredible past season. You had 15 Worlds and Summit podium finishes. So
Yeah.
what was that experience like?
We were talking about this the other day, and I think it's hard to conceptualize that. Like, whether you're, just in a new division and it's your first time competing in that division and your goal is to run clean, there's so many different wins as a choreographer that we're kind of following teams through that we don't even really pay attention to the ones on the podium. We're like, that's a well-oiled machine. They've got it figured out. And it's kind of everybody else. So when we sit back and we actually start doing the stats, we're like, that's actually a lot. Like, I'm like, that routine was really good. And he's like, yeah, I did it. And I'm like, right. Like we can almost take ourselves out of it too much. We have to do better at it. It is kind of our one pain point right now. But we are so proud of our clients. They did the work. They, put in the extra hours. I think the one thing that Spirit FX, both in the US, but especially in Canada, has prided ourselves on since the beginning is our year-long client support. So a lot of choreographers, you get that 10 hours and good luck, have a great season. I'm almost annoying with my clients where I'm like, it's Friday, I haven't seen a video. It's Monday, I haven't seen a video. You came back from, competition. I haven't seen score sheets yet. We're constantly a part of that process and want to see teams do well. And, if we get feedback that they're not loving this section or, the movement's not working the way we intended it to just by body changes and people that come in and out of routines, we're okay making those changes. And it's not something that ruffles our feathers. That is part of the process. So by the time we get to Worlds, I'm like, yeah, that is what it looked like this many months ago. Like we were so a part of the process that we are almost too close.
Yeah, I'm the same. I think that in our business as well, we run a marketing agency that focuses on cheerleading and tumbling gyms as a big part. We also do service-based, but for a lot of our marketing, it's that. And we talk about caring, right? And being a part of your team. Yeah. Right? And we're like, we want to know your numbers. We want to know where we can go from here and what is the success. And I think that it comes back to what you said in that goal being good people doing good work and good business. And so how do you incorporate that in other ways into either your team or with your clients?
Yeah, I'll speak on our staff side because I can talk, their praises and, for hours. But we, like Rolton was saying, built out our Canadian team of choreographers. And it was a very interesting process because we had a lot of people that almost self-disqualified from the process. Like they were like, oh, I don't have the skills needed, or I don't have the education, or it doesn't exist. There is no pipeline into choreography right now. So a few years ago, we had a junior choreographer program where we brought on a couple of staff and they actually shadowed us for a whole season. So they got to go to a whole bunch of different jobs, see what it was like, actually do the 10-hour days and, be in the gym and do the long travel days as well. And seeing that, they're like, oh, I actually do have everything that I need to do this. And like, it mostly just the confidence that's lacking. So they're incredibly creative. Their ability to think outside the box. They're, keeping up with trends. They're setting our own trends, something that we're really known for. But I think one thing that we have been really good at is finding those good people. And I can teach you how to be a choreographer. I can teach you business. I can't teach you how to be a good person. So that's always been something that we look for. And, we want people who think about it differently because every gym needs a different fit. What the person that I send to a mega gym in Ontario might be different than I send to a micro gym in New Brunswick. It's about that right fit and that right person. The choreography part is is teachable.
Yeah, I think it's really important to find people who really do care about the kids and care about the coaches as well, that want to see them do well. As Sam was saying, like the skill of teaching choreography can be taught, but you can't really teach people to care. Like that has to be something that's innate to them. I think we've done a really good job of finding really great people that are, really developing their choreography crafts still. I think choreography is one of those things that you never really stop learning. Like we have a staff training every single year, and I'm always there taking notes and learning from other people. It's just really hard to find a way to get that education, to get in that room with the people. We're very, very blessed that, we've had some of the best choreographers in the industry work with us, and we get to pick their brains and we all collaborate together. That's the best way to, create a great choreographer, is just like getting the experience. So we've been really lucky, especially with our Canadian staff, to find great people that can come along on this journey and learn how to be great choreographers with us.
We joke that it's like a muscle. So, everybody has that choreography season, and then we kind of dip into, maintenance and upgrades.
Yeah.
And then choreography season comes around, and both Rolton and I are like, do we know how to do choreography? I haven't been in the gym in a minute. I don't even know if I know. And then as soon as you get back in there, you're like, all right, I'm good at this. Yeah. But it takes that like almost working out that muscle to get better at that craft. So I don't think anybody in the history of cheerleading has gotten the routine right in 10 hours. Like that, you're not winning Summit, you're not winning Worlds in 10 hours. You have to have people that care enough to be a part of that process, and that's what we look for.
Yeah.
The other really important part is collaborating with the coaches. It's really, really important for us to get to know the coaches, because they're the ones that know the kids the best. They know what they're capable of. We're going to come in, we're going to try and push everybody outside of their comfort zone a little bit, but it's really the coaches that are going to have to work with these athletes throughout the entire season. So we really get to know the coaches, the ones that, we're going to come back, we're going to do cleanups, we're going to talk to them about score sheets throughout the year. It's really about developing that relationship. And I think that's probably the most important part about great choreography.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think to answer your question in terms of like what we're looking for when we are looking for staff, we love, the knowledge of cheerleading. People that have done kind of every level is ideal. It's very hard to find somebody who's, either coached or worked with tiny novice and then also done large co-ed 7. We are very lucky that we've had the opportunity to coach almost everything in between, from scholastic to all-star. So as much range as you have, the better. Again, not necessary, but is super helpful. And then above anything, we look for people who love to learn. So we want people that want to take the extra classes. We want people that, want to shadow. We want people that, sit in their gym while their own routines are being choreographed and are watching from the corner and, picking their brain. Like I said, we can teach anybody the act of like the formula of putting a routine together. But we want lifelong learners, and we want people that are going to continue to outdo themselves. I think, we've ended up with a lot of very competitive people on our staff, and the competition that we have internally is way more fun than the competition that our teams are actually performing at. So like the amount of times where I'll brag on Rolton for a second. He had 2 teams podium in the same division this year at Summit. And he's like, well, damn, why didn't I get second? He's like, I got a first place team and I got a third place team, but next year I got to get all 3 spots. And there is nothing better than looking at a podium, especially Summit Worlds, All-Star Worlds, and being like, that entire podium is Spirit FX, whether it's Canada or the USA. And like, that to me is the dream. A lot of times we get asked if like people will book us if we've done teams in the same division. Every team makeup is so different. And the athletes that are on those teams, there's no way they're able to do the same version of a routine. So it's really who's going to bring the technique, who's going to actually max out the difficulty, or who takes things away after we leave. So that internal competition and finding people that are like, I got to beat myself from last season, I think is what makes us continue to innovate.
Yeah, I think I always look at those posts where it's like where you are now and you're like on a little hill, and it's like, but you need to take a second and look where you've come, and you've made it like 3/4 of the way up the hill. And you're like, I just keep setting a new standard for myself and pushing myself to keep being better. And I love that. Like the learning aspect is the same in marketing, right? At no point in a day should I ever say that I am like the exact person who knows everything in this one thing, because like in literally 30 minutes, I'm going to get an email and like 6 things have changed and now I've got to learn it again.
The algorithm is new. And you're like,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I agree. I love the analogy of the muscle, right? You just got to keep working it. And in order for you to get stronger or try new things, you need to keep pushing yourself.
Yeah. One of the silly things that I will pick on one of our staff, Lauren. We worked with her in like a judging scenario. I was head judging on a panel. She was there shadowing, and I was watching the like how her brain worked the whole day. So she was like, I think this is what the score should be. And I'm looking at the score to see what that judge submitted. And I'm like, you guys are perfectly on par, right? Like we're having these conversations, we're going through the education, but she's kind of giving tidbits on routines about what her opinion is. And as she's doing that, I'm sitting here being like, she would be awesome on staff. So later that day, I was like, hey, have you ever considered like applying? Like, I think you would be wonderful at this. And she's like, that's literally my dream job. And I would have an absolute panic attack at the idea of sending you a resume. And I'm like, dude, if it's your dream job, why wouldn't you apply? And she's like, I don't have the experience in choreo. I don't have this. I don't have like, there was all of these internal doubts. And I'm like, because you disqualified yourself is actually why you'd be really good at this. Because you already care more than I can teach you that, you know, this is what you need to do. So like, I think I called her and she didn't apply. She never sent her resume. And I kind of bothered her being like, where is it? Why haven't you done it? And we were like, girl, can you get on FaceTime? And we FaceTimed her and I was like, so this is the job, you have it, you're going to do choreo. And she's like, you want me to do like full panic? Valid. We do kind of move very fast and it is a little bit jarring, but that's going to be the person that's going to change our industry in 5 to 10 years. Like that's going to be the person that I'm like, that girl's better than me. Like I am so excited to see all of these people outshine us. Like that is the dream. But I do think like we almost have to push people into it to be like, dude, you have to realize how good you are at this. So I'm very proud of our little staff that we got going on.
And that passion, right? That makes a difference in how you go about your job, how you interact at your job. Like I still coach and I do it because I'm passionate. It's not because I have to, but it makes my day better and it makes my week better. And I think that comes across in the way that I coach. But you can see someone who is like, well, I'm here because I have to be here and it's a responsibility versus someone who is like, yeah, like, let's go, let's do this. Like the energy is different. The vibe is, the way you approach it, the way you think about it is all different. And so being able to go after the things that you're passionate about. And if one of those is cheerleading, then that's an amazing way that businesses like you can help support people doing that and launch their careers into something like you said, where 10 years, you guys can sit back and be like, yes, like this is the standard that is now there. And we took the time to like build that up and build the people up, because the people are really what make a business work.
Yeah, and that's I feel huge. Like 100%. We come from the coaching world, same as you. Like we've been with teams, we've been on the floor, we've been gym directors, and it's now in the business owner role, but building that staff is still coaching. Like we're still their biggest cheerleaders. We're still with them in the hardships. We're still, you know, everything that your athletes are going through, our staff is going through the same thing. So it's really prepared us to, what I hope is be good leaders and set them up for success.
Yeah. A lot of our choreographers are still coaching because choreo is very seasonal. They're still coaching their own teams at home. And like you were saying, like everybody really just, they want to see the athletes grow. They do it because they're passionate about it. I think that happened all across the industry. I think even us who have not been directly coaching teams, but we've been coaching our staff, I still get the same feeling. You know, when one of my choreographers does well, I feel great because I was able to be part of that process. Like the passion for coaching and development is still there. Had a really good moment this past week, I guess week with the AIA global competition, where it was actually a bunch of our junior coaches that we had developed that actually won the grand champions of that competition. And some of the athletes that we had previously coached were on that team as well. So it is a real full circle moment of like somebody that we were helping on the business side. We helped the business, we helped develop the team and the coaches. And now those coaches that we've developed have further developed those athletes into global champions. So like, I feel a great amount of pride knowing that the passion that we instilled into those coaches has, you know, gone on to another generation. Like, I think that's the only way we continue to grow the sport, is to continue to pass on that passion throughout the generations.
Yeah. And there's no limit in opportunities. Like there's so many gyms There's so many teams that need choreography, so many competitions that need judges. Like, this sport is going to continue growing. And we've seen even in the past like 10, 15 years in Canada specifically, the sport has just exploded. But even you look at the States, like the States is still so massive compared to us. And there's so many ways that people can get involved. And I love that you talk about that development, because I think it's really cool. You guys are actually hosting the 2026 British Cheer Association Coaches Conference.
Yeah.
So how did that come about, and like what is that entailing for you guys?
I think it's super exciting. Like, we're one thing that for us, again, it's going to sound a little bit woo woo, but like we speak things into existence, and we move really fast when people have good ideas. So we're the first one to be like, yeah, let's jump on a call and see where it goes. And then, 10 minutes later, we're taking over the world in a new way. So that's basically what happened with the BCA conference. Is one of our directors at Sharp, she kind of was like, hey, I spoke at this conference last year. The team is wonderful. You guys need to have a meeting with them and see if you guys can, speak at the conference this year. So that was the intention, I think, going into the meeting, was just like, hey, like, if you need some speakers, like, we're more than happy to help. We've done that for the last 10 years. So it's not out of our wheelhouse. We jumped on the call and he was like, yeah, like, not only do we want you as speakers, but like, we love what you guys are doing. We love the way that you guys are moving. And I think it would be a wonderful partnership to actually put this conference on together. So they're huge. They have a massive amount of competitions that they run every year. They're, all over the England, Ireland, Wales, Scotland kind of area of the world. So they have a good reach in terms of people that would come to this conference, but they were looking for just that something different that would kind of help not only the coaches, and like, there's a lot of wonderful speakers that can talk on the coaching and the athlete side, but really offering a lot of those business classes that are going to hopefully help with the infrastructure side for a lot of these programs. So we're super excited. It's like, the Saturday is going to be like a true education day, but then the Sunday we're offering the kind of athlete portion. So not only will the coaches be able to learn the material, but our hope is that they'll be able to then the next day, while the athletes are, going through the training, the coaches will be able to use us as a resource to be like, what corrections would you make? How would you do this differently? What part of the grip are you going to look at? So we're going to actually be able to apply what they learned the day before, hopefully get the most out of the conference experience.
Yeah, so it's not just theory for the coaches, it's both theory and then the practical side as well, where they can see all of the things that we've talked about applied directly to athletes live. I think that's one of the big things that's missing in a lot of coach education, is like, okay, I have all these great notes from the conference. How do I actually apply that when I get into practice? So that's what we're really excited to bring that to the conference space. And the UK is great. Love going there.
It's exploding too.
There's absolutely exploding. Like, they have teams that are already, top of the world in both Worlds and Summit. So yeah, it's definitely very similar to Canada. Whereas obviously we're not the birthplace of cheerleading, but we've been very close to it for a very long time. And I think the industry in the UK is growing just like Canada has in the past, where there's a lot more clubs, they're a lot more organized, they're doing a lot more global competition. I'm really excited to see UK cheerleading grow, and I'm glad that Canadians, we can help out.
That's incredible. I love that you say that about the conference aspect and like, how do I do it? Because I actually was at conferences the last 2 years, and I had so many gym owners and directors come up to me. They're like, I get all of these incredible ideas, and then I go home and I'm like, I don't know how to do it. Yeah, right. You just like, you have this list and everything. So we ended up creating a webinar specifically for marketing to teach you how to do every little aspect, because we're like, now you can go to the conference, you can learn it, then you're going to go back, you're going to have a replay, and you're going to be able to go step by step how to go through this. Yeah, because that practical aspect, agree, totally missing. And there's so many incredible ideas that then you're like, well, now I have so many ideas, what do I actually tackle? Which is a whole other issue.
Yeah, we started something at the CNS conference last year. Time was all crazy, but their last CNS conference, where every class that we offered, we had tangible take homes. So I find a lot of times you're, writing your own notes, or you have whatever video you grabbed on your phone, but then it was like, this is literally the information that I taught. Here's an activity. Here's a prompt that you can do with your own kids. And each session, obviously they're going to be different and tailored to what we're learning, but had that physical, like, not only are you taking all of these notes and have all of this information, but then you have the prompt sheet and how to apply it when you get back in the gym.
I think as we transition to where everything is digital, there is something about having a very like paper in hand, like this is what I'm tackling.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
love that
absolutely.
idea so much. Okay, so with that, you guys have so many things that are going on, and I love that. What other things do you have coming up that maybe athletes, coaches, or gym owners might be interested in?
So we have a bunch of secret projects, which are super
I
exciting.
love secret
and
projects.
That's all I can say right now. But staying tuned will be advantageous. Whether you're an athlete, coach, or gym owner, there is stuff coming out for everybody on the Sharp Performance side. Obviously, there's the choreography bucket. It will always be there. It's its own machine. But the Sharp Performance will be doing some really cool things. And I'm going to say the next 3 years, but knowing us, it'll probably be on the sooner side. Yeah, it'll probably be on the sooner side, but there is a lot of really cool things happening. In terms of things that are kind of on our radar always is not only are we hiring choreographers, but we are also hiring office staff. And I think that's one of the really cool things that we've gotten to do recently is not only are we hiring, people who are really great at cheerleading, but a lot of these cheerleaders, did university or did college programs so that they could cheer a little bit extra longer. So we have an incredibly educated group of athletes and coaches and, gym owners who are now looking to like find other spaces in cheerleading. So like we've got a not marketing team. We've got like a social media team. We have our sales team. We have admin that just keep people going where they need to go. And, she's our rock star that makes sure everyone arrives safely.
The operations behind
Oh yeah,
a business that does so much is super important. When I say operations, I mean like all the things that are like finance, all the travel booking, all of the administrative stuff, HR, payroll, all that kind of stuff. If people are going to school for these things, there is roles for them inside of cheerleading. I know we don't traditionally think of those as roles within cheerleading, but they require some knowledge of the sport to be really good at the job. So like we can't just really hire any admin off the street. They have to have some knowledge of cheerleading or the learning curve is just super steep. And I think that's the thing that kind of scares people off sometimes. Yeah. So it's taking all of those traditional jobs and putting them in the cheerleading sphere as well. I think it's super, super important that we actually apply all those talents.
Yeah. We were just talking with Dominique from Cheer Action, and she was saying, I loved it. She was like, take any word or job title and put cheer in front of it, and we need it. Like cheer accountants, we need it.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I think that's going to be like the newer side where we see that big shift is especially on the business side now that, gym owners are having better structure set up when they're building gyms. Like they're going to need HR. They're going to need the accountants. Like these, small passion projects are now multi-million-dollar businesses. And if you do not grow with them and put the team in place, that is incredibly hard to manage. So there are those roles. And I think for us specifically, like we're going to hire within cheerleading before we hire on Indeed or whatever, like, outside source we can find. Yeah. Family first.
I love that. And that passion first, right? Okay, so then based off of all of these amazing things, you have an amazing team, you've gotten these incredible experiences. As you've gone throughout your career, what have you found is the most impactful way for finding and then going after opportunities in the industry?
I think it's just connection. Like, I think coming back to what we were talking about at the beginning is just like good people doing good things, getting together is the way that this sport has grown since its inception, right? That never changes. You're going to find more opportunities by talking to people. You're going to find opportunities by talking to your teammates, your coaches, just other people within the industry. I think, like, for example, on the judging panel is where I find a lot of people in the industry that I would have never met otherwise from all over the globe, really. And that's one way that I've made a lot of really good connections all across the world is through judging. So really building those relationships, getting it and putting yourself out there.
This is my like pain point because I'm the person that everybody's like, oh my gosh, we should connect, let's share. And then I'm like, oh gosh, now I have to follow through. So like that's like my like one human thing I need to do better at. If I've left you on red, it's not personal. It's me. So that's my like to the industry, I'm sorry. But I do think it's really cool that you can find almost like one, if not two connections between everybody in this industry. So you're like, oh, I know him who knows her, who's great friends with him or trading with them. And the entire industry, like we're especially in Canada, isn't that big. So we all are a lot more connected than we think we are. And a lot of times
like
it's
2
just,
or 3 degrees
yeah,
of separation between just about anybody in the industry. So
100%. So like it's finding like, you know, one conversation, you're now like, I feel like I've known this person for years. Like how do we create something together? And I think being in an entire industry of creatives, especially on the choreo side, but even in like the business structure side, being able to think creatively is what unifies us all. So like it's very easy to find that common interest and then seeing where that takes you. And I think we've just said yes to a lot of opportunities.
Yeah.
And, you know, our thought process is like, worst case, it doesn't work, right? But if we put the effort in and we see where it can go, and if it helps one person, you know, that's the win at the end of the day. So we've been very lucky so far.
Yeah, I love that. I love the aspect of why not, and why not me, or why not us, right? Like, let's try it. Worst case, it like fails, or you get a no. Okay,
yeah,
move on.
And like, you're never going to be ready. You're like, never in life will you be ready. So it's like, are you willing to put in the work to become ready? And are you willing to be uncomfortable until you figure it out? So like, I think we live in uncomfortable a lot, where we're like,
oh yeah,
I have no idea what I'm doing. This is a deliverable. This needs to happen. But because we're passionate, because we have that, like, it's going to happen. We're going to do the work. I know that I can bet on us to follow through on whatever it is. We just have to figure it out first.
Ready isn't really a state, it's a decision. You decide when you're ready. So I think having good people around you and having a solid foundation is the key to making sure that you feel ready once you actually start doing something. I think it's really important you got to pick yourself. You have to put yourself out there. You have to get experiences, like I was talking about with like the judging thing, or whether it's like joining a committee with your like PTSO. Find ways to get yourself out there, like step up within your gym. Like, do you want to be a director of a certain aspect of your program? Like, do you want to start an initiative to help, you know, athletes in your area? Maybe you want to start something for people with special abilities. Like, there's so many ways that people can step up and be recognized, but you have to choose yourself and you have to put yourself out there. And I think once you do that, it will attract the people that you want to have around you. And that's how opportunities are created. People will see what you're doing and they're like, hey, we can make this a bigger, better thing. Let's join together and let's do something big. I find cheerleading is full of people who want to be collaborative, who want to be helpful, and who want to see this sport grow. Like, that's what it's been for the last 30 years or plus years, you know, just people getting together and being like, hey, how can we make this grow?
I think one of the best compliments we ever received about our business was from another company who said, we watch where you guys are. And it means more to us where you guys aren't than where you are. Because if we see you there, we know it's going to be an opportunity. We know it's going to be exciting. We know it's going to be something that's worth investing our time in. So they're like, we kind of use you guys as our baseline to decide whether that's going to be a good idea. So I think, just like Rolton's saying, like finding those connections and putting those people together in a room, you know, you find your tribe of good people.
Yeah. And I love that aspect where you talked about those 2 or 3 degrees of separation, because that's really important. That also is really important, like when you're an athlete and the way that you interact with your co-athletes on the team, with your coaches, with how you perform and behave outside at competitions. Like, those all fall in. I always give the example of, I moved from Ontario to BC 2 years ago now, and the gym that I started training at as an athlete, I was talking to someone, one of my teammates, and she mentioned something, and I was talking about the gym that I worked at in Ontario. Well, it turns out that her sister was taking her nephew to the same gym for a drop-in play zone. And I was like, we're like 4,600 kilometers away. And like, you're at the same gym that I just left.
Yeah.
So small world, very, very small world.
And it happens to us globally. Like, the amount of times we're in an airport and we're like, we are on the other side of the world. What are you doing here? Or like, it's so cool to see people all over the globe that you're like, you know, we trained together in London and now we're both on opposite sides of the world doing something awesome. I think I have a very similar story to what you were mentioning. Is like, I was at Vipers 10 years. I had Trace as a coach. I was, to say, a mediocre athlete at best. I tried my darndest, but it was, you know, I was there. Passion was high. I was like, you're going to get the best jumps and the best dance, but then I'm, you know, and your stunts are going to stay in the air. But when tumbling happens, I'm going to wave my way. And non-tumbling was built for me, and I never got to train in it. It's very sad. But I never thought of myself as a coach. I never thought of myself as like a leader on any of these teams. I was just being myself. And my coaches went above and beyond to create opportunities for me that I would have never put myself in. So like Trace called Corby and said, hey, I have an athlete coming to York. She's on your team, right? And I was like, you can't do that. I have to go to a tryout and I have to make my own impression. And he was like, no, Trace called me.
You've been approved.
You're approved. And I was like,
Yeah.
this is weird, right? And, you know, same thing with coaching is I think I was like 11 when I started coaching, which is incredibly young. I did the whole like CIT program before that existed.
Yeah.
But for somebody to be like, hey, at 11, you have the maturity and the, you know, leadership skills to do this role, it took somebody being like, hey, you can do this. And I think when you think this many years past, I'm like, I'm still looking to find those kids, you know, out of nowhere. And a lot of times it's another gym owner who's like, hey, I have an athlete going to this gym. Do you know this coach that you can say, hey, I have a kid coming? That is like my favorite thing to do, is like make those connections, because, you know, moving isn't always the athlete's choice. So now they're like displaced. They want to find that family immediately. And if you can make that phone call and get that kid there, that's the dream. We had an athlete that I coached as a mini who is now, she's now a couple years into Western, but when she was coming down, I was like, hey, Trace, one of my minis is coming. I can't speak to the athlete that she is now, but I can tell you, great family, great kid, you know, she's going to be a rock star. She's going to do what you ask her to do. And, you know, she's coming. That stuff like was incredibly meaningful to the athlete, took no effort on our part. So those 2 degrees of separation, like good people doing great things, I will vouch for you till the cows come home. I have no problem screaming your praises.
Yeah, I think that's actually really brings up a good point for athletes that are out there right now. Is it's not just what you can do in terms of skills, it's who you are as a person. And this industry is so small that everybody kind of knows everyone, even if you're going all the way across the country. Like you could be going from St. John's to Vancouver. I can probably connect 2 people in both of those provinces super quickly and find a trail of like where you came from, because everyone knows everyone. So it's more about your character, who you are as a person, how you treat your teammates, how you treat your coaches. Like that stuff is going to take you further than any skill development ever will. Right? Like if you want to really be in this industry for a long time, it's important to show up, be a good person, and make those connections with all those people, because you never know when you're going to need that. If you're like, you know, leaving from an all-star program and going to university, whether you're leaving university and you want to go somewhere new and coach, like those are the people that are going to vouch for you. I guarantee it. Like you can probably call one of your old coaches or your old teammates to vouch for you later on in life. I still do it.
I was gonna say, like, I'm pretty sure I could do it now.
Are cheer people.
I still do it.
Yeah.
I still do it to this day for myself and for my athletes. Like we've even hired some of my like former athletes and people that, you know, used to cheer at gyms that we've worked at.
I think the best part of it is like we know the Canadian world of cheer really well, but now that we're doing a lot more stuff globally, it's been really refreshing to see that connection and that kind of like gym owner to gym owner or choreographer to coach, like that connection still exists globally. So like we've had athletes that have moved, you know, to Europe, or like it doesn't matter where those connections are, to be able to see that investment in community still exists on the global stage is one of my like most favorite part of cheer right now.
Yeah. And I also think that that's really important to stress for athletes who either start later in the sport and maybe aren't able to develop those skills or those tumbling that'll allow them to get to those higher levels, or also for athletes that are in more rural areas that aren't able to develop as much compared to maybe urban cities, or where you are able to go to university that has, you know, level 7 teams. There are still opportunities for you to make a successful and very fulfilling career in this sport. Like if you're passionate about it, we will find a spot for you.
Absolutely. I think it's even still shocking for like my parents. Like my mom was the cheer mom who was on the board of, you know, whatever, head of parents association. She was super involved. And, you know, 20 something years later, she's like, when I registered you at 9, I never thought this would be your career. And I was like, girl, same. I had no idea either. Like we've done all of the different education. We've gone down all the different rabbit holes, but like this feels right. And it's where I need to be. And it's it's almost like so many steps that led to this. But I think it's important to anybody that's looking at applying for whether it's like a choreography role, a coach role, a office in cheer role, just to try. Like, if you have the qualifications and you know the people, or even if you don't, put yourself out there, try, and if you can't figure it out the first time, learn. Like, there's so many of us that will pick our community first. That you just need to put yourself out there.
Yeah. And like you said, like, don't discredit yourself. Like, I think 6 times you had said in this interview that, like, the amount of people that discredit themselves ended up being the ones that you hired. Like, try. And like we said, what's the worst case? They say no. Okay, now then we move on and we try a different opportunity, or we go and get this training, or reach out for a mentorship. There's so many different journeys and ways to get to the same point. And like a lot of podcast guests have said, like, their journey maybe took like a little route that went, one way, and then they went this way, but they always came back to cheerleading, and cheerleading was the thing that they were most passionate about. And then they ended up back to where they wanted to be.
Running joke is nobody quits cheerleading.
No.
It's like,
so
how many times have you quit? Or how many times have you, and like, there's never like I quit mid-season. It's like, well, I got injured, or, I had this life thing come up that I had to side quest over here. But it's like, you keep coming back. It's definitely for us a running joke of like, how many times are you quitting for the umpteenth time? And they're like, yep, but I'm now on a board. Or like, yeah, yes, but I'm now,
They're like, I quit. I'm only judging. You're like, you realize you're still in cheerleading, correct?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
So,
I always call it, I'm like, it's a pause in this area. So like, I'm pausing as an athlete, I'm pausing as a coach, like all of those sort of things. Because I'm
that's
like, I'll
way
be back.
More accurate.
Yeah.
Right?
And even
like,
when you think you won't,
like,
you'll be back.
Yeah. And like, how many people retire? No. You're not going to retire.
I don't think I know any cheerleaders who have actually retired that have said, hey, I'm hanging up my shoes, never touching cheerleading again. I think I can think of like 1 or 2.
Yeah. Which is like also such an incredible thing, especially as we see open and that division and everything that goes into that, especially non-tumbling teams. Like, that's something that has opened up an area for maybe older athletes or those who are coming back into the sport. And then in Canada, we're also seeing masters teams pop up where they're 18 plus. Yes. And now it's not as competitive as an open team, but you still get that connection to the sport, which is just so cool.
Depending on where you are, Masters is getting serious. A little bit more serious.
Quebec Masters is no joke.
As we have more athletes that, age up and probably are done their open competing days, those Masters teams are going to get way more competitive. And I think we're going to have to open up some higher stunting levels for our Masters teams, just because the skill level is getting too high.
I love it though. Like, what an incredible way to keep growing the sport, right?
Lifelong athletes.
Yeah, I know. I would have a very hard time being on like a rec parent team only. I'm way too competitive for that. I'd be like, no, get that prep up.
Agree.
Like, we're putting in 6 more reps. Like, my jumps need to be better.
100%. And I think that's like the elite athlete mindset. I make fun of Rolton all the time. He's tried rec sports.
I can't do
he is miserable. We just had our son is 4, and they had an end of the year soccer tournament where the parents played the kids, and when I tell you, it was FIFA on the schoolyard. Like, these kids were intense. The parents were equally as intense, and I'm like, I thought this was supposed to be a fun picnic. Like, this is competitive. It is serious. And I think it's fun because our generation of competitive athletes are now raising a generation of competitive kids. And I think we saw 100%. A gap in there for a while where kids were less competitive. It was more like, we just want to be here, we want to do our job. And like, there was a different era of cheerleading and an athlete that we were coaching. But you watch out for these 3-4 years old. These 3-4-year-old, they will win, and they will win at any cost. So hopefully we're about to see some really killer athletes coming up the pipeline, just because our generation are now the ones that are having kids.
I'll let you say that, because my tiny novice team were like
serious.
They knew their spots. They knew what clean was. We were backstage. They're in a line. Like, they're ready to go. And
yeah,
100%.
Yeah, it's no joke.
And I think they have way more sass than I ever had at that age. So I don't know what they're going to do once they become, U12, U16 and older athletes. They're going to be like the sassiest bunch on the planet. So Good luck.
I think they have more
Yeah.
sass now than I do right now. Like, this year is the first year that I paused as an athlete for like the last 6 years, I think. And I literally look at them and I was like, I could never get the performance score. I try my best, but like, this is just natural to you.
And I think it's really fun now that there's like competitions like the AIA and like finals or any of those events where they take the age out of it and they're like, all right, level 1, go to town. Because I'm like, that tiny team's gonna beat you. Like, they're going to have better tech. They're going to know where they need to be. And it's hard for those senior kids to be like, yep, we were just beat by a, U12 team.
And of 8-year-olds.
Amazing.
Awesome.
But they're putting in the work. They deserve it.
Yeah.
I think it's super important on the coaching side. We had probably the most formative year of coaching when on our Wednesdays we had tiny novice practice, and then we would drive to another gym and we would coach large co-ed 7 in the same block.
In the same evening.
Like 5 to 6:30, and then 7 to whatever was our older team. And it was absolutely insane to see the way that they trained, because for us, we realized that we didn't have to change the way we coached, because the same intensity and the same respect and the same expectation that I set for my tiny team, the voice I used and the pacing of my practice was a little bit different. But other than the, age change, the expectation and the standards were equally as high and equally delivered, I think.
Yeah. And I think they all love stickers. So that's the thing that I learned is
Co-ed 7 loves
a solid tracking chart with some stickers goes a long way, whether it's tiny novice or open 7.
I'll pick on flyers.
I love that.
We did a lot of work with them this year, and walking into their gym and seeing the walls just painted in sticker charts. And you're like, this is one of the best open programs, I guess, world's programs, because they've got the U18 teams in the country. And they are fueled by stickers.
Stickers. Love a good tracking chart.
I don't care how you get there, as long as we get there.
Yeah. My kids, I do, we call them technique ducks. So at the end of every practice, your coach has watched throughout, and the athlete who has really focused on technique, maybe we gave them corrections and they were really focusing on making sure they were applying those and doing that. And then depending on also, it could be that like, that technique duck was also where you focusing on being a leader in that group, taking charge, making sure you're getting all those counts and that sort of thing. And my U12s love these ducks. My U8s, they love the ducks. And we get little glitter ducks, and they're like, I get to choose my color and all that. And I had a U16 team. Wasn't really sure that they would want it. They were like, yeah, okay, we'll do it. And then this year I have a U18 team, and I was like, do you want the ducks? And they were like, 100%. I was like, okay, we'll do
why
ducks.
Don't we get ducks?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't we get ducks?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's not fair.
I was like, you're all new to cheer, and apparently you all want ducks too. Okay, I'll buy more ducks.
Right.
I buy them in bulk for 100 of them at a time, and you know what? That's fine. That works for me.
Yeah, and I think it's so silly. Like it really doesn't matter what age you're coaching. It's everybody wants to have that community feel of success, and whether that's a hit 0, whether that's winning, whether that's surviving a really hard practice, like we just want to have that universal feeling of like we did the hard thing and came out on the other side of it. And I think whether that's business, whether that's being an athlete, whether that's being a coach, like that's the true like driver for everything that we're doing. So in the chaos, it's really important to be like, hey, the other side's coming. There is light at the end of the tunnel. We are going to get there. And you don't really care about it once you're past it, right? Like you're not going to fester in what you dealt with. It only feels hard in the moment. So I think whether it's a duck or a sticker or a piece of pizza that gets you through, the minimum we can do.
And having those goals, right? Those always help. Yeah. Okay, so based off that, you guys have done so many things and got to experience incredible just range of things and experiences and places. If you weren't doing your current role, what other role in cheerleading or youth sports would you want to do?
That's really tough. I think for me, I would probably be coaching like rec. Maybe, probably, whether it's cheerleading or if it's something else, I'd probably be coaching rec. Because as much as I love All-Star and I love competing on the big stage, I think for me, it's really important to see the love for the sport and the growth and development and just the pure joy when, like an athlete gets a new skill or they, get to try something new or they get their first win. For me, that's probably like the best feeling in the world. And I think I'd probably be doing that full time?
Yeah, I'm not even sure where to start. I think you got stumped. For me, it would probably be still somewhere in the entrepreneurship realm. I love solving problems. I don't think there's any business problem that we can't fix somehow. So, we do it in the business coaching side right now, but whether that was, working with one business specifically or, working on more of like a global scale on how to help different niches. I don't think the cheerleading specific part is important. I love cheer and that's kind of how it fits, but I definitely love helping businesses and seeing people able to like execute on those dreams. So similar vibe, just different age group.
Yeah. So our final question is, if you think back to when you're like 17, 18, and you're just about to go off to school, and then you flash forward to today, what do you wish that 17 or 18-year-old self would know about all the things that you're going to experience?
Wow.
I think for me, it would be to remind that, 17 or 18-year-old that like betting on myself will be worth it. Because I think that time you're so impressionable and you think that there's a strict pathway you need to follow. Like, I have to go to university. I have to get the good grades. I'm going to work in the exact field I went to school for. You're very tunnel vision. And I think we started Sharp while I was in school. So having that pull to do something else felt wrong when I was, going through it. But I've never regretted betting on me. And, I'm still scared to do it, but I've never regretted it. So really, try it. Because again, worst case, it doesn't work. You try it again.
Yeah, I think what I was thinking was along the same lines. If I had to look back, I would just tell myself to kind of take the leap, because no one's really got it figured out. So if you're presented with an opportunity, just take the leap. Don't be afraid to screw it up, because you can't, because nobody knows what the next step is going to be anyways. So try as much as you can, experience as much as you can, make great friends, and enjoy being in the moment, because you don't really get those moments back.
And make the 10-year plan. We do that all of the time, and we actually found our 2016 10-year plan. And when we looked through it, there was not a single item on that list that we did not accomplish. And I don't think I've looked at it since 2017, right? Like, I've not gone back to it. I've not, kept that in our forefront. But make the list. Dream audaciously.
Yeah.
You might mess around and end up there. So I think that's probably like the coolest part is you have a lot of belief in yourself when you're like, hey, this, we spoke it into existence. It's going to happen. We're going to do the work. Like, that part's not the scary part. It's just whether the pathways will open up. But yeah, I think make the 10-year plan, because it's really cool to look back at.
Yeah.
I love that.
It's funny because I feel like the two things are related. Like, you got to be audacious enough to make the big, like, improbable 10-year plan, but then you also have to not care so much about it to take the winding path that is going to get you there, because it's never ever a straight path. You might have to go across the country. You might have to leave the continent and go to a different country. You might have to, take a job that you don't really like, but it will, make you meet somebody that's going to be influential in you achieving that goal. Like, the path is never linear. So I think you, one, have to make those goals, put them down on paper, and just be like, my dream is to do this thing, and then not be afraid to leap when those opportunities present themselves. Because that's kind of how we got to where we are now. I don't know how much time we have, but we did really jump all over the place in a path that didn't make any sense. Going back to kind of like the origin story, the reason why we had to create Spirit FX Canada is because on a whim, literally, within a week, we decided, hey, we're going to move from Ontario to BC because we got a job opportunity.
Yeah.
So we were like, yep, pack everything up. We're going across the country.
I think we had literally 4 days from offer to arrival to move our entire life across the country. And like, would I ever do that? No, I need plans. I need, structure. I couldn't do that, but we jumped and we were caught. That's where the Spirit FX team came in. Cause I'm like, now we're traveling across the country to do all of this choreo and the time zones and the whatever. So it was really nice to have that team. But yeah, like, we left there and we went to New Zealand, and we were working in New Zealand, helping again grow and establish some programs there. And then COVID happened, and we were now homeless because we lived in New Zealand and had to come home to whatever was happening. We actually got the very last flight out of New Zealand before they closed their borders for 2 years.
Oh, wow.
So again, right place, right time, saying yes when you have to. But then we're back in Canada post-COVID going, what is it going to look like? So again, you have to be malleable. You have to say yes, and whether that was like virtual choreography or figuring out how to do everything 6 feet apart, like you adapt. And it's definitely not been a straight line.
No, COVID was definitely an interesting time for everybody. I think everybody in cheerleading was trying to figure out how to make it work, whether it was virtual or doing some distance-based coaching within the gym.
Yeah.
That's when I actually was able to lean a little bit more on my business background and started working with startups. So that really, really kind of solidified my business and operations background, because I was able to work within like different startups throughout that time. Luckily, I could work remotely, but doing operations for different companies. Like I was CEO for one company, I was the operations manager for another company, and realizing that I could take all of these skills that I had already acquired and redirect them into cheerleading was one of the big things that came out of that. So as I was saying, like, it's not really a linear path. Like, I would not have gotten there, but if I hadn't gone across the world and been forced to come back, it wouldn't have pushed me in that way to begin with. So it's really important to just kind of go with the flow, because no one's really got it all figured out.
Yeah. And like you said, like, ready is a decision. You have to say, yeah, I'm doing it right now.
Yeah.
I love that. Well, yeah, Sam.
No, it's all good. I think it's exactly that. You have to try, because we are a lot more malleable when things don't work out, and we all think that we're, life is over, it's the end. It's not. You're gonna find a new path, or this is actually what's leading you to where you're supposed to be. So
or it's gonna force you to make that decision that gets you there.
Yes.
100%.
Yeah. Well, this has been incredible. So where can people connect with you?
Yeah, so we're at The Sharp Performance on all socials. Website's the same thing, sharpperformance.com for the Spirit FX side. We're Spirit FX Canada. For the website, we're spiritfx.ca. If you go to .com, you'll find our US friends. And if you are in Canada, that won't work. So if you're in the US, .com is your kind of wheelhouse there. And then you can find, just our first and last names on all of the other things if you want to find our personals as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being a part of this podcast. There's like so many little golden nuggets. I can't wait for everyone to listen to and find and take something away that allows them to go do incredible things and work with incredible people.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Great.
Yeah, perfect. Well, make sure to tune back in 2 weeks where we answer the question, what happens after the routine ends?